My parents let my brother sleep in while I cooked, cleaned, and ran the whole house. When I finally said something, they called me ungrateful. So I packed my bags and walked out that night. The moment they forgot my 17th birthday, I knew everything had to change. They saw me as their live-in manager, not their daughter, and I was about to show them exactly what life would look like without me. I was 16 when the truth hit me. My parents, Evelyn and David, didn't see me as Chloe, their child. I was just a second mother. But without the love, without the respect, and definitely without the freedom. While most kids my age were worrying about outfits or crushes, I was buried under grocery lists, dish duty, and Noah's homework schedule. My younger brother, Noah, barely 2 years my junior, was treated like a prince, a delicate heir to some invisible throne. And me? I was the invisible handmaid. At first, I thought it meant they trusted me. My mom, Evelyn, would beam, "Chloe always helps out. She's so responsible, not like other teenagers." And I ate it up. I'd smile, fold laundry that wasn't mine, and prep dinner after school and volleyball practice because Evelyn had a long day. I'd bite my tongue when David would walk past Noah glued to his phone and ask, "Chloe, could you get your brother a snack?" It was like Noah had suddenly lost the use of his legs. But even the strongest dam eventually cracks. My resentment was slowly, quietly filling. Drip by drip. Every chore handed to me, every pat on Noah's back for doing the bare minimum. Mornings were always chaos, but somehow Noah remained untouched. School day or weekend, I was up at dawn, setting alarms, making breakfast, packing lunches, even ensuring Noah's homework made it into his bag. Evelyn would claim, "Boys need more sleep during puberty." Probably from a cereal box, I swear. If I dared to forget something, it was always, "Chloe, how could you be so careless?" You know Noah struggles to stay organized. Heaven forbid he'd be held accountable for his own life. It wasn't just the chores. It was how they spoke about us, even to others. One Sunday, when our family friends, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, were over with their daughter, Sophia, Evelyn laughed. "Oh, Noah's our baby. He's got such a gentle heart." Then, about me and Chloe, well, she's basically my right hand. I don't know what I'd do without her. Mrs. Harrison smiled. "That's wonderful, Chloe. You must be so helpful." I nodded, unsure if I should feel proud or sick. I looked at Noah. He was lounging in a lawn chair, a soda in one hand, a smirk on his face like he'd won the lottery. That's when the switch started to flip. Not all at once, but something inside me blinked awake. I started noticing. Noah never washed his plate, but if mine lingered in the sink, I'd hear about it before I made it upstairs. His dirty laundry was always a boys will be boys moment, but if I didn't fold the towels perfectly, it was, "Chloe, you're better than this." One morning, I woke early and found Noah's school project, unfinished, on the dining table. He had a presentation that day. I knew he'd forgotten. I also knew Evelyn would freak out and ask me to help him finish it, like always. But this time, I didn't touch it. I made breakfast, packed his lunch, and sat across from him when he finally dragged himself downstairs, 10 minutes before we had to leave. He stared at the project, eyes wide, then at me. "Did you finish it?" he asked, like it was obvious. "No," I said. "It's your project." His jaw twitched. "You always help me." I just shrugged and kept eating. He stormed off. 5 minutes later, Evelyn was at my door. "Chloe, what happened with Noah's project?" I kept my voice even. "I didn't touch it. It's his." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "That's not how we do things in this house." That line rattled in my head the entire car ride. Not how we do things. As in, I had broken an unspoken rule. The rule that I existed to make Noah's life easier. I didn't say anything. But that night, I didn't fold the laundry or prep lunches or wipe down counters. When they noticed, it was as if their world had tilted off its axis. Evelyn scolded me. David asked if I was going through a phase. Noah had the audacity to mutter, "So, you're just lazy now?" Lazy? I was up at 6 every morning, cleaning their messes, handling responsibilities I never agreed to. The first time I paused, I was lazy. Still, I didn't argue. Not yet. I just started saying less, doing less, observing more. I wanted to see how quickly the balance would fall apart if I stopped being the glue. Spoiler, it didn't take long. Dinners were late, lunches were forgotten, laundry piled up. Noah lost a library book and blamed me. Evelyn found the trash overflowing and gave me a full lecture on personal responsibility while Noah walked past us barefoot, stepping over the trash like it wasn't there. But the real breaking point wasn't the chores. It was my birthday. I turned 17 on a Tuesday. Not a huge milestone, but I'd hoped for something. A cake, a card, a happy birthday that wasn't an afterthought. But when I walked downstairs, the house was dark. No balloons, no pancakes, no one waiting. I made my own toast, packed my own bag, sat in silence while Noah slept in. By the time Evelyn came down, she was already late for work. She barely looked at me. "Chloe, did you remember to take the chicken out of the freezer?" I blinked. "Do you know what day it is?" She frowned, checked her watch. "Tuesday." I waited. Nothing. Just as she turned to leave, I said quietly, "It's my birthday." She stopped. "Oh, right." A thin smile. "Well, happy birthday, honey. Sorry, I'm swamped today. We'll do something this weekend, okay?" I nodded. She left. That night, there was no dinner out, no cake. Just frozen pizza and silence. Noah complained there were no pepperonis on his slice. I stared at the TV as sitcom credits rolled, and something inside me just collapsed. And that right there was the moment I decided I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. But I didn't explode. Not right away. I waited. I watched. I planned. I didn't pack my bags that night, though I really wanted to. Instead, I went in my room, shut the door, and stared at the walls for what felt like hours. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was loud. My brain replayed every moment of that day like a cruel montage. Waking up alone, Evelyn's blank look, the half-hearted, "We'll do something this weekend," Noah picking olives off his pizza like it was the biggest injustice. The worst part? No one noticed I was hurting. Not even a little. I was invisible unless they needed something. The next day, I went through the motions. Not because I'd forgiven them, but because I wanted to see what would happen if I kept pretending. I took the chicken out. I loaded the dishwasher. I texted Noah about his math test. I smiled when David asked if the laundry was done, and they all just accepted it. Like the day before hadn't happened. Like I hadn't spent my birthday alone, eating cold toast while my parents forgot I existed. I think that's when the last piece of me that still wanted to be part of this family started to die. Because now I knew it wasn't a one-time oversight. It was a pattern. A belief system. I wasn't their daughter. I was the help. That Friday, the betrayal came. Quietly, like everything else in our house. No screaming, no drama, just a quiet little knife slipped between the ribs while you're too distracted to brace for the pain. It started with parent-teacher night. I didn't ask them to come. I'd learned not to expect it after hitting high school. My grades were good. My teachers liked me. I didn't cause problems. Noah, on the other hand, had a permanent front-row seat reserved for Evelyn and David. If he so much as missed a homework assignment, Evelyn was scheduling a meeting. So when I saw both their names on the sign-in sheet that night, I actually smiled a little. Maybe they were here for me. Maybe the birthday guilt had finally kicked in. I spotted them near the refreshments table, holding plastic cups of lukewarm coffee. David waved. Evelyn smiled. I felt this little flicker of hope until I saw Noah walking behind them. "Oh," I said, trying to sound casual. I didn't know Noah was coming. Evelyn sipped her coffee and shrugged. "Well, Mr. Rossi emailed me last night about Noah's science grade. It's dipping. We thought we'd drop in." I blinked. "Wait, so you're not here for me?" David looked confused. "Well, you're doing fine, right?" My stomach twisted. "Yeah, I guess." And that was it. "No, how are your classes?" "No, we're proud of you." Just a half-hearted confirmation that I wasn't falling apart, so they didn't need to bother. The final gut punch came an hour later. We were in the hallway near Noah's science class when I heard Evelyn talking to another parent. "It's tough," she was saying, "having a son who needs so much support, but we're always there for him. He just has such a sensitive spirit, you know." Then about me. Meanwhile, our daughter, Chloe, she's so independent. Honestly, sometimes I forget she's still in high school. She laughed. She laughed like it was a compliment. I didn't say anything. I didn't even look at her. I just turned, walked to the nearest bathroom, locked the stall, and sat down. And I cried. Not loudly, not in a way anyone could hear. Just silent tears. Because that's the only kind I was allowed to have in our house. Quiet emotions, quiet breakdowns, quiet daughter. When we got home, I told them I had homework and went straight to my room. But I didn't do homework. I opened a notebook and started writing. Every time they'd overlooked me. Every time responsible felt like a punishment. Every time Noah got praised for something I'd been doing every day since I was 12. For the first time in years, I let myself feel angry. Not sad, not disappointed, angry. I wanted out. But more than that, I wanted them to realize what they had lost. A week later, I got my chance. It started with a weekend trip, not a vacation, just one of those extended family get-togethers at Aunt Beth's lake house. Everyone was going. Evelyn was excited. David pretended to be. Noah was dreading it. And me? I was watching, waiting for the moment they'd assign me the role of trip coordinator without asking. That Friday, the night before we left, Evelyn handed me a list. Just a few things to pack for the trip. Toiletries, snacks, sunscreen, and make sure Noah remembers his charger this time. I scanned the list. 2 pages long. This is for me, for us, she corrected, as if that changed anything. And what's Noah doing? I asked. She shrugged. He's finishing his gaming tournament thing. You know how important that is to him. Of course I did. His online team was named after some kind of pasta. He spent more time with them than us. God forbid we interrupt the sacred duty of digital warfare to ask him to throw some towels in a bag. That night, I packed, but not for them. I waited until everyone was asleep. Then I pulled out my own duffel and started folding my clothes with the precision of someone escaping a sinking ship. I didn't have a full plan yet. I just knew I wasn't going to that lake house, and I wasn't staying in this house much longer either. But before I left, I wanted them to feel it. The next morning, I pretended like everything was fine. I helped load the car. I smiled when Evelyn handed me a bag of snacks. Noah grumbled about the Wi-Fi. David tried to mediate a fake family vibe by playing old 80s music. I was quiet. And when we got there, I played the role. The helpful daughter, the quiet observer, the background character. Until Sunday afternoon. We were all sitting at a long table outside, eating grilled chicken and potato salad. Aunt Beth was talking about her new kitchen renovation. My uncle complained about taxes. Then the conversation shifted to kids and their responsibilities. Evelyn, of course, launched into her usual speech. Chloe's our little manager. Honestly, I don't know how this house would function without her. She's so mature. Everyone nodded. I kept chewing. And Owen? Aunt Beth asked. Evelyn smiled. Noah's our dreamer. He's got such a creative mind. I just don't want to crush that spirit, you know. They all nodded again. And that's when Noah said, with a mouthful of chicken, yeah, well, Chloe kind of likes doing all that stuff anyway. Makes her feel important. Everyone laughed. Even Evelyn. And something in me snapped. I didn't say anything at the table. I didn't storm off. But that night, while they were all inside watching a movie, I walked out to the dock and sat at the edge with my feet in the water. I thought not just about the trip, not just about Noah, but about all of it. About how I'd spent 17 years earning a place in a family that only wanted a servant. About how I'd let myself believe that if I worked hard enough, they'd see me. Really see me. And in that moment, I realized something awful. They never would. They didn't want a daughter. They wanted a placeholder. And I was done being one. I stood up, walked back to the house, and packed my bag. I didn't tell anyone. I just zipped it shut, grabbed it by the handles, and stepped out the front door into the cold night air, heart pounding. But just as I reached the edge of the driveway, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Evelyn. One sentence. We need you to do breakfast tomorrow. That was the moment everything crystallized. The breaking point. The betrayal wasn't a slap or a scream. It was that one line. That casual assumption that I'd still be there, that I hadn't noticed, that I hadn't changed. I stared at the message. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone, looked at the dark road ahead, and took the first step. I didn't have a plan, just a full bag and a firm decision that I wasn't going to make breakfast for people who didn't even say goodnight, let alone happy birthday. I walked half a mile down the gravel road, my sneakers crunching against loose stones. My phone stayed off. I don't know what I thought I'd find at the end of that road. Freedom? A sign? Some kind of instant relief? All I found was a wooden bench at the edge of the lake, where the pine trees cleared out into open sky. I sat there in the cold for hours, hoodie pulled tight, the straps of my duffel cutting into my shoulder. My breath made little clouds. I probably looked ridiculous. A teenage girl running away from home without a single backup plan. But I didn't feel ridiculous. I felt hollow. And that hollow space, it was the first time in years I hadn't felt cramped by expectations and orders and guilt. I was alone, but I wasn't suffocating. Around midnight, I turned my phone back on. A flurry of messages popped up like fireworks. Mom, Chloe, Dad, where are you? Mom, are you trying to be dramatic? Noah, seriously, you made Mom cry. Mom, Chloe, you're overreacting. We need to talk. I didn't reply. I just scrolled and scrolled, looking for something that wasn't there. No, we're sorry. No, are you okay? No, we love you. Just panic, blame, annoyance. That night, I messaged someone I hadn't talked to in over a year, my cousin Sarah. She was 21 and had moved out the moment she graduated high school. Our family treated her like a cautionary tale. Don't be like Sarah, running away just because she didn't like doing chores. But I remembered her differently. She was bold. She had fire. And she never apologized for wanting her own life. I used to admire her secretly, quietly. The way you admire someone you're too afraid to become. I sent one message, Sarah, hey, I know it's late. I'm near the lake house. I need somewhere to go. Please don't tell my parents. 10 minutes later, she sent an address and a thumbs up emoji. She didn't ask why. She didn't lecture. She just helped. That ride to Sarah's apartment was quiet. She didn't push me to explain, and I was too drained to speak. Her place was small, barely more than a studio, but it felt like a palace. A futon in the corner, a chipped table with mismatched chairs. I nearly cried from how warm and peaceful it was. She handed me a blanket, a glass of water, and said, "You can stay as long as you want. Just one rule, no walking on eggshells here." I didn't sleep much that night. Too many thoughts buzzing like static. But I finally felt safe. The next morning, I woke up to a different kind of silence. One that didn't demand anything from me. No chores, no yelling, just the sound of Sarah making eggs in the kitchen while some indie song played from her Bluetooth speaker. She looked over and grinned. Hungry? I nodded. For the first time in forever, someone made breakfast for me. We talked slowly. I told her what had happened, not all at once, just piece by piece. Like unpacking bruises that never got to heal. She listened. Really listened. No interruptions, no excuses for my parents. Just empathy. You know, she said, sipping her coffee, they're going to spin this like you betrayed them. I already knew that. I'd seen the pattern for years, the way they twisted every moment I pushed back into a narrative where I was the problem, the ungrateful daughter, the selfish one, the moody teen. But you didn't betray them, she continued. You just stopped betraying yourself. I didn't say anything. I just stared at my scrambled eggs and let that sentence carve a permanent space in my chest. The fallout came quickly. Evelyn called every day. Sometimes voicemails, sometimes walls of guilt in text. We gave you everything. You're being brainwashed. You'll regret this. Noah even sent a voice memo that was mostly him sighing and muttering, "This is so extra. Just come home." I blocked them. It wasn't easy. I cried when I hit block on Evelyn's number. My hand shook when I did the same to David's. But I needed the noise to stop. I needed space to think without the echo of their disappointment in my ears. Sarah helped me get a part-time job at the cafe where she worked. Just a few shifts a week, clearing tables, wiping counters, refilling coffee. Nothing glamorous, but every hour I worked was mine. Every dollar I earned had my name on it, and no one expected me to fold someone else's laundry afterward. I enrolled in online classes through the local community college's dual enrollment program. The counselor I spoke to didn't ask too many questions, just nodded when I said I needed a flexible schedule. I told my high school I was transferring out due to family relocation. I figured they didn't need the full soap opera. For the first time in my life, I had control over my time. But don't get me wrong, it wasn't all triumphant music and sunrise montages. There were days I wanted to call home. Days I questioned everything. Days I woke up wondering if I'd made it all worse by walking away. The guilt didn't vanish, it lingered like fog. Rebuilding wasn't quick. It was slow and painful. I had to unlearn years of thinking my worth came from how much I did for other people. The worst part was how quiet it was. Not the apartment. Sarah always had something playing, from true crime podcasts to bad sitcoms. But the emotional quiet. I was so used to noise, so used to being needed. I didn't realize how much of my identity had been wrapped around other people's expectations. Without that, I felt empty, like a blank slate. And that was terrifying. But slowly, that blank slate became freedom. I started journaling, not a Dear Diary thing, but lists, things I liked, things I wanted to try, things that scared me. I wrote, cook for myself and take a bus alone and sleep in past 9. Little things, but to me, they were rebellions. I dyed my hair, just the ends, a soft blue that looked like sea glass. I thought Sarah would tease me, but she just said, took you long enough. I even bought my own cheap laptop with 2 paychecks worth of tips and a coupon and started taking graphic design tutorials online. I didn't know what I wanted to be yet, but for the first time, I had the space to imagine it. Meanwhile, Sarah was my rock. She taught me how to budget, how to cook more than just eggs, and how to say no without adding a dozen apologies after. She never hovered, never parented me. She just supported me like a real family should. 2 months in, I got promoted to front counter at the cafe. I still wore the apron, still mopped the floors, but now I got to greet people, take orders, smile because I wanted to, not because it was expected. The regulars learned my name. One even asked if I was in school and said, "Smart girl like you. You'll go far." I almost cried in the back room because he saw me. One day, walking to the bus stop, I passed a mother yelling at her daughter in a parking lot. The girl looked about 10. She was holding a smoothie, tearing up as her mom scolded her for spilling some on the car seat. I froze, not because the scene was unfamiliar, but because it wasn't. That used to be me. Always one mistake away from guilt. Always told I had ruined something. And in that moment, I knew whatever pain I still carried from my family, I wasn't going back. Not to apologize, not to explain, not even to argue. Because I wasn't theirs anymore. I was mine. The rise wasn't a single moment. It was hundreds of little ones. Saying no to a shift when I needed rest. Helping a customer because I wanted to. Sleeping in. Laughing with Sarah. Getting an email saying I passed my first college class with an A. It was all of those things and none of them. It was the quiet knowledge that I was healing. And that healing wasn't about revenge. It was about wholeness. Still, a part of me wondered, did they miss me? Did they regret it? Did they even understand what they'd done? Then a letter came. A real one, mailed with my name on it in Evelyn's handwriting. I stared at it for a long time. When I finally opened it, well, let's just say it didn't go the way I thought it would. The envelope was thin white, the kind you buy in bulk. My name, Chloe Grace, underlined twice, in Evelyn's familiar, careful handwriting. No return address, just a forever stamp and the postmark from my hometown. It had been nearly 3 months since I left. 3 months since I'd blocked their numbers, ignored emails, and resisted the urge to check Noah's social media just to see if they were pretending everything was fine. I sat on Sarah's futon, turning it over like it might detonate. I don't know what I expected to feel. Anger, anxiety, maybe even hope. But all I felt was distance. Like the name on the front belonged to a different girl. Someone who still cried when her mom forgot her birthday. Someone who still believed she could earn her parents' love if she just worked hard enough. I opened it. The letter was only a page long. Evelyn's voice echoed from every sentence, tight, formal, emotionally guarded. Chloe, I hope you're safe. We haven't heard from you in weeks. While I don't agree with the way you left, I want you to know the door is always open. Your father and I are deeply hurt by your decision, especially after everything we've done for you. Noah is struggling. Your absence has affected him more than I expected. He's falling behind in school and seems angry all the time. I hope you'll consider coming home. I think with time and communication, we can move past this phase and get back to being a family again. You're almost 18. Decisions have consequences. Please remember who's always been there for you. Love, Mom. That last line, please remember who's always been there for you, burned. Not because it was true, but because it wasn't, and she knew it. I folded the letter neatly and placed it back in the envelope. Then I went to the kitchen, grabbed a magnet off Sarah's fridge, and stuck it right next to her grocery list. Not because I needed to remember it, but because I needed to see it every day. I needed to remember how far I'd come. Sarah read it later that night while waiting for her pasta to boil. She didn't say anything until she reached the last line. Then she let out a dry laugh and said, "Well, that's manipulative." I raised my eyebrows. "You think it's bait?" "Absolutely," she said. "They're losing control of you and they hate it. So now they're dangling guilt like a fishing line. They want you to bite." I nodded slowly. She was right. I'd seen the same tactics in different forms for years. This was just a new coat of paint. But this time, I wasn't a child staring at a wall of disappointment, trying to make sense of it. I was someone else now, someone they hadn't accounted for. And that's when the idea started. It wasn't revenge at first. Not exactly. It was more like curiosity, a question, sharp and quiet. What would happen if I stopped playing by their rules altogether? What would happen if I finally took all the skills, all the organization, all the behind-the-scenes knowledge I had about our family, and turned it into leverage? I wasn't talking about burning down their house or screaming at them in public. That's not how I work. I was the type to prepare. So, I started preparing. The first step, understanding what they needed from me now. I watched Noah's Instagram, finally unblocking just long enough to scan his posts. His captions were shorter. His eyes didn't sparkle the way they used to. No selfies, no group shots with his online friends. He looked lost, probably because no one was making sure his life ran smoothly anymore. Next, I checked my old school email, something I hadn't done in weeks. I found 3 emails from my guidance counselor, 1 from my chemistry teacher, and 2 from the school office. And then I saw the email from the scholarship board. Apparently, I'd been nominated by one of my teachers for a college prep grant. A small one, but enough to cover course fees and books for a year of community college. The catch? I had to respond by the end of the month. I'd almost missed it. Sarah sat across from me at the kitchen table while I reread the email. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" she asked, chewing the end of her pen. I nodded. If I go through with this, I could apply to transfer out next fall, get my own place, full independence. "You'd need more money," she said, but I could see the gleam in her eye. "I'll figure it out," I said. I'm used to juggling 10 things at once. Except now, it's for me. I applied for the scholarship that night. Then I emailed the community college and updated my profile with my new address at Sarah's apartment. I filled out every form like I was laying down chess pieces. Every move designed to shift the power away from the people who thought I'd come crawling back. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I emailed my parents. Not a letter, not a text. An email. Cold. Professional. Bullet-pointed. "Dear Evelyn and David, I received your letter. Thank you for your concern. I'm safe and financially independent. I've enrolled in dual enrollment classes through community college. I've received a scholarship opportunity, which I intend to pursue. I appreciate the support you gave me during childhood. However, I no longer accept the imbalance in our relationship. Until you acknowledge the patterns that led me to leave without gaslighting, guilt-tripping, or justifications, I will not be returning home. I wish you the best, Chloe." I didn't soften the tone. I hit send, and then blocked their email addresses, too. Not because I wanted to be cruel, but because I wanted clarity. I wanted to reclaim my voice on my terms. The next day, Sarah and I took a walk around town, window shopping and sipping coffee. She was quiet for a while, then said, "You ever think about what your life would have looked like if they'd actually supported you?" "Sometimes," I said. But I also wonder if I'd still be this version of me if they had. She gave me a long look. You know, that's kind of poetic. I smiled. Don't get used to it. That night, as I lay in bed, an idea struck me. One that made me sit up and grab my notebook. If they thought I was done, they were wrong. I wasn't going back to beg, but I was going to remind them exactly who I had been in that house and what it meant to lose me. I made a list. Every holiday, every family event, every little thing I used to plan, coordinate, or fix without ever getting credit. Birthdays, grocery shopping, school project deadlines, bill reminders, chore charts, even the Wi-Fi password. I had updated it last summer after Noah changed it to something stupid and forgot it. Then I got a flash of brilliance. They were still using my email address to log into half the household's digital accounts. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, the shared cloud drive with all the family photos I had organized by year. All of it under my login. And I was still paying for 2 of those subscriptions, one from a Visa gift card my grandparents gave me last Christmas. I hadn't noticed because I barely checked the balance. That weekend, I logged into each account. One by one, I didn't cancel them. Not yet. Instead, I changed the passwords. Then, I set the recovery email to my new one. Then, I added a note to each account profile. This account is no longer managed by your unpaid housekeeper. Best of luck finding the remote. Sarah laughed so hard she dropped her cereal. Petty queen, she said between bites. But I wasn't done. Next, I made a checklist of the things I used to do. Noah's calendar reminders, his project supplies, David's don't forget sticky notes, Evelyn's meal plans. Then I scheduled messages. Yes, scheduled emails, to be sent over the next month. All from a dummy email I created under a fake name, Former Daughter Services. Each email was polite, just a gentle reminder. Hello, this is a courtesy notification that Noah's midterm project is due in 2 days. You may want to check if anyone's actually started it. Or, reminder, monthly prescription refill for Evelyn's migraine medication. Remember, Chloe won't be making that call anymore. Or, hi there. Family Day is this Saturday. Don't forget to RSVP to the potluck you always made sure to bring food to. I timed them perfectly enough to rattle them, not enough to start a war. I didn't want revenge through destruction. I wanted revenge through clarity, through showing them exactly how much I had carried and how silently I had done it. And now, how it all unraveled without me. The final piece, the family group chat. I hadn't opened it since I left, but I still had access. One night, I typed a message. Just a few lines. Hey, just wanted to say thank you for teaching me what not to tolerate. I'm doing well now. I hope you figure out how to function without me. Good luck. Then I left the group. No dramatic exit, no shouting match, just the soft click of a door closing. The emails started landing like little time bombs. Not all at once. No, I was more methodical than that. I wanted them spaced out, just enough time between each one to give them a moment to recover before the next blow hit. Not to hurt them necessarily, but to disorient them, to show them how many invisible plates I had been spinning on their behalf. How much of their life I had been quietly managing behind the curtain. The first email went out on a Wednesday morning. A reminder that Noah's science fair project, the one he had barely started back when I lived at home, was due in 3 days. I included a polite note. You may want to double-check the rubric to make sure everything's included. I'd help, but I'm no longer available for last-minute miracles. I imagined the look on Evelyn's face as she read that, coffee in hand, phone buzzing with a million responsibilities she used to pass off to me without a second thought. I imagined her scrolling, rereading it, realizing she had no clue where Noah even left the poster board from last year. The next email followed 2 days later. This one was for David. Hello. Your car's insurance renewal deadline is next week. You've missed it before, and I used to set calendar alerts for you. Might be a good time to sign up for those yourself. Sarah watched me press send, eyebrows raised. You're savage. I didn't smile. I just said, no, I'm accurate. That weekend, I finally logged into the shared Google Drive that stored all our family's files, photos, tax records, password spreadsheets, meal plans, emergency contacts, everything. And all of it was organized by me. I took my time sorting through it. Downloaded my personal files, my school documents, my essay drafts, my photo albums. Then I deleted my folders from the shared space. All the rest I left exactly where it was, except I renamed the top-level folder. It used to say family stuff. I changed it to try doing it yourself. I logged out and never looked back. The next week, the fallout really began. I didn't hear about it firsthand, of course. I had no contact with them. But small ripples started surfacing from people around the edges. Friends of the family, neighbors, old teachers who still followed me on social media. My former English teacher sent me a direct message. Saw your mom at the store. She looked tired. Mentioned something about being spread thin lately. Hope you're doing well. Oh, I was doing well. I was thriving. Meanwhile, I heard Noah had to redo his science project from scratch. Apparently, he brought a half-finished board to school and blamed technical issues. That earned him a 0. And for once, my parents couldn't email a teacher into magically fixing it because the responsible one wasn't there anymore to pick up the slack. And then came the potluck. Family Day at our community center was a big deal. One of the few events where our entire extended family came together. Every year, Evelyn brought her famous lasagna. Correction, I made the lasagna. Evelyn just plated it and smiled for photos. This year, Sarah and I showed up. We weren't invited, but the event was open to the public and I had every right to be there. I walked in wearing a deep blue dress, hair down, makeup subtle. Confident, calm, whole. My parents were already at their table. Evelyn turned first, her eyes wide, her mouth opening slightly, then shutting again. Noah sat next to her, face pale. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I didn't walk over. I didn't wave. I just sat with Sarah and a few cousins on the other side of the room. And that's when I heard it, a whisper from Aunt Beth. Did you hear? Chloe moved out on her own, got a job, enrolled in college courses, all before 18. I caught a few heads turn. Some clapped softly. A couple of the older relatives gave approving nods. Evelyn's face flushed deep red. I wasn't trying to humiliate her, not really. But for once, the spotlight was on me. Not for how well I served others, but for how boldly I had saved myself. Halfway through the event, the organizer walked over to our table. Hey, Chloe, you used to bring that lasagna, right? People are asking if it's here. I smiled. Not this year. He looked disappointed. Well, if you ever want to share the recipe, I don't think I'll be handing it over, I said sweetly. Some things are earned, not gifted. Later, as the event wound down, I saw Noah making his way toward me. He looked uncomfortable, hands shoved in his pockets, shoulders hunched. Hey, he said quietly, stopping a few feet away. You look different. I am different, I said. He glanced at the floor. Mom's been a mess. She keeps saying you'll come around. I tilted my head. What do you think? He hesitated. I think I didn't realize how much you did until you left. That surprised me. He looked up, and for the first time in a long time, his expression wasn't smug. It was regretful. I'm not saying sorry just to say it, he said. I was a brat. You did everything, and I thought it was normal. I think Mom and Dad thought so, too. They're still mad, but I don't know. Maybe we're right to leave. I didn't respond right away. I didn't trust words anymore. Not unless they came with actions. But something in his voice sounded genuine. Not perfect, not mature, but different. I'm glad you're realizing it, I said finally. That's step 1. He nodded. Step 2, living without me. That made him crack a small, sheepish smile. Fair. I walked away without hugging him. I wasn't ready for that. But it didn't sting like it used to. I wasn't holding on to hope that they'd change anymore. I was simply letting go. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. This time, it wasn't from Evelyn. It was from my grandmother, David's mom. She had always been the quiet observer in the family, never really picking sides, never making waves. But she had noticed things more than I realized. Dear Chloe, I heard about everything. I won't pretend I know what it felt like, but I'm proud of you. I saw how they leaned on you too much. You were a child, and they treated you like a second parent. That's not fair. That's not love. That's dependency. Enclosed is a check. Don't tell your parents. It's not much, but it's yours. For school, for rent, for whatever helps you keep building this new life of yours. You didn't abandon them. You just saved yourself. Love, Grandma. I cried when I read that. Real, shaking, ugly tears. The kind that only come when someone finally says the thing you've been dying to hear for years. The check was for $2,000. It covered a semester's worth of books, 2 months' rent, and a cushion I'd never had before. I wrote her back a thank you letter, and I promised her I'd pay it forward one day. A few months later, I moved into a tiny studio apartment of my own, not far from Sarah, but finally mine. I still worked the cafe job, but I'd picked up some freelance graphic design gigs online. My grades were solid. My life was stable, quiet, peaceful. Sometimes I'd still think about them. My parents, Noah, the house I grew up in. But it didn't ache anymore. It felt distant, like something I'd survived. And that was the real revenge. Not the deleted files, or the snarky emails, or the missing lasagna. The real revenge was my joy, my stability, my freedom. Because nothing unsettles the people who tried to control you more than seeing you live a beautiful life without them. And I did. They stopped calling, and I never looked back. What would you have done?